And because I invested everything into it, I only had $5 to my name when I walked out of that event, and completely just overwhelmed with, now what am I going to do? So instead of going home and getting a good night's rest and coming up with a game plan that would be in my best interest, I decide to go out and get completely drunk,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what pain wants. Pain wants to be numbed. It doesn't want to deal with it. Recording? Oh, there we go.
Hello, everyone. We are here today with the beautiful Carrie Asby, and we are going to be talking about the power of ritual and the science of self love. So, Carrie, I just wanted to thank you for taking the time for this conversation first.
Oh, I want to say thank you for giving me the opportunity. You have a choice on how you want to spend your time, and you chose to spend it with me, and it's something I'm very grateful for. So thank you.
Yeah, well, I'm really looking forward to learning more about your work because I have read some about it. And actually, where I wanted to start, there was a line in your bio on your site that really struck me. And what it said is, I was trying to survive a life that didn't reflect who I truly was. And I was like, wow, how many people would be able to resonate with that? But it was just so beautifully said. So I'm just curious, before we get into what it is you are sharing in the world now and how you're living now, what was going on? How did you even get into this space of focusing on self love?
Oh, it's a beautiful question. I will take you back to my upbringing. I think a lot of it starts there. And before I go deep, I do want to clarify that I actually really do love my parents. I
Yes.
have um, let the past go and healed, and I can hold space for them, and I love them dearly. But the truth is, they were raised with people with bad habits. And as a result, my parents had bad habits. And I was raised in a household that really didn't have much love, didn't have much support. There was no physical violence, but there was a very raw, intense, negative energy, anxiousness, and anger constantly. And some people may know that when your parents don't see you for who you are taught not to see yourself for who you are. And you are taught that your needs and your desires and dreams don't matter. And so I remember as a little girl at one time saying, "This isn't right. This environment that I'm in, there's something wrong." But as my therapist told me, what does a 12-year-old little girl do when she realizes that she's in an environment that's harmful?
Mhm.
She has nowhere to go. So I repressed that. I took that fear, that anger that I was feeling, and I just said, no, I'm silly. How could I be thinking that? And tried to move on with my life. The only thing is that didn't decompose. That was still very much a part of me. And I continued on growing up, not taking care of myself and not making good decisions for myself. And instead, I was trying to get validation from other people, especially my parents. I was desperately wanting to get their approval and to them to acknowledge me for who I am.
Yeah.
And when you're living a life like that, when you're not taking care of yourself, you're constantly making bad decisions. You're not putting your best interests. And so I did get to a point. Um, I'll share. I'll take you to. So now we're in San Francisco at 2013, and I was designing clothes at the time. I had my own fashion line called Sutter Larkin, and from the outside looking in, it looked like I was living the dream. Like I had made it to LA Fashion Week, like third year
Wow.
after launching my line. I had all these photo shoots and runway shows, and making these really cool clothes, and everyone kept saying, "Oh, your life is so great." But really, I still had that pain deep down inside me, not knowing that I was worthy and not taking care of myself. And I kept making bad, bad, bad decisions. And there was this one time when I got just completely off the rail pissed at the boutique owner that was selling my clothes. And it was my number one source of income. And this pain inside me said, well, let's go show her some revenge. Let's go pull our clothes off of the floor
Yeah.
and, that'll show her. Well, it was not a good decision
Yeah.
whatsoever because I didn't iced out my number one source of income. So then I needed to find a way to make some money. And so I thought I'll have a pop-up. I'll just put all my clothes out, have an event, everyone can show, I can sell a lot of things. Because when we had pop-ups with the boutique, I basically told it F off. I could make a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, I had never done it before, and I didn't really know what I was doing, and put everything into it, my heart and soul. And at the end of the night, people did show, but at the end of the night, I sold absolutely nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And because I invested everything into it, I only had $5 to my name when I walked out of that event, and completely just overwhelmed with, now what am I going to do? So instead of going home and getting a good night's rest and coming up with a game plan that would be in my best interest, I decide to go out and get completely drunk
Mm-hmm.
because that's what pain wants. Pain wants to be numbed. It doesn't want to deal with it. And being in that state, not paying attention to my being, my around surroundings, my purse was stolen. And so in my purse was keys to my apartment, my wallet, my iPhone, everything. So I couldn't even get home that night. I had to sleep on a friend of a friend's floor. And the next morning, I finally was able to make my way into my apartment. And sitting on the counter were 8 bottles of unopened wine. So I opened one, I drank it, and I passed out. And I continued this pattern of opening it, drinking it, and passing out
Yeah.
until I finished off the 8th bottle. And something happened at that moment when I was literally waking up from the 8th time of passing out. These words crossed my lips. This is not me. I mean, I vividly remember saying, this is not, how did I get here? This is not who I am. This is not what I'm supposed to be. And the good thing is that stopped me in my tracks. And not only was I now wanting change for myself, I was committed to it. And so I needed to do something. It was time to start taking care of myself. And there was a yoga studio just around the corner from me that was donation.
Mm-hmm.
So you paid what you could. And if you didn't have anything, they let you in.
Yeah.
And I'd been to yoga before, but this one probably was different because where the state I was in, and also the teacher, Rusty Wells, was that phenomenal. And he is that phenomenal because he's still my mentor today. But what he taught me in that class is that I am worthy of love. And it comes from within. And that was my pivot moment. That's when I turned around and I started taking care of myself. I mean, it took time. It didn't just happen overnight, but that's when I stopped drinking and I stopped doing drugs. I got rid of toxic relationships. I got a job at Nordstrom's as a stylist. I really started to go inward and take care of myself and love myself. And that's
I have to say, okay, just the beginning of the story, Carrie, I'm like, whoa. So many things strike me with your story. One is this thing of from the outside looking in, because I think a lot of us, could fall in the trap of looking at other people and wishing we had their lives, and we never really know someone's story. We never really know what someone is going through. And I think that's always a very important reminder for all of us. Don't make assumptions because of what you see on the surface, but also with ourselves. Are we more concerned with the surface versus what's going on underneath? But the other thing is the domino effect. I mean, from that one choice of taking your clothes out of the boutique and then the domino effect after that. And then on the other side, that one choice of going to this yoga studio. And now here comes a different type of domino effect. It's just so, it's wild to me how I don't think we recognize in moments how pivotal just one choice could be in the aftermath of that. Wow.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, okay. So you go to the yoga studio and now you're working at Nordstrom. And what is going on for you at this time though? Were you questioning? Were you still kind of upset? Like what state were you in at this point?
I I knew that I was feeling better,
Yeah.
and I knew that um, that the work that I was doing made a difference. That it actually was real. People say woo woo.
Yeah.
Mindfulness is not woo woo. It is
Yeah.
There is a science behind it, and I it I was beginning to see life and myself in such a much more positive way. When you take care of yourself, you're in a better state.
Right.
And so not only do you see yourself differently, you see the world differently. And that's when I do remember vividly when I was walking down the street. I think I was leaving yoga, and I was like, I feel so good. I feel like I haven't felt this way before. I was beginning to be free. I
Yeah.
was beginning to let go of what other people, other expectations and expectations I put on myself, and just to live who I really truly was. And that was the moment when it's like, I can't just be the only one feeling this way. This is when I need to start sharing it. And so that's when I started studying yoga and practicing and mentoring with Rusty. And that was the beginning of my path um, towards wellness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is interesting too, because at the beginning of the story, you talked about, pain and wanting to numb that out, and then having the conscious awareness of what it is like to actually feel good. And it's just interesting. I mean, everything you're saying so far just is like highlighting so much of this human experience, but how we respond to it. So you have this awareness now. I'm going to yoga, I'm taking care of myself, I'm living differently. Did you start to have any reflection though of like what got you there? Like back when you were living more from the state of hurt and trying to numb it, was there any kind of investigation or curiosity of what was going on with me over there because I don't want to go back or
It's funny because there's so much about mindfulness, about letting go of the past, you can't go back. It's the past. You just have to accept it and move on and let go of that pain. And I just so many times we'd be in workshops or in classes and like let go of the pain. And at that time, I still was in denial. I didn't know what the pain was, and I was like, I remember going, "Okay, go away, pain," but you got to know what it is to
right.
let it go. And it actually wasn't until one of my most pivotal points was COVID,
Mm,
because after I left San Francisco, I went to New York City, and living in New York and loving life. And then COVID came, and I was really fortunate enough that I actually got out of this city before it turned into the epicenter of the pandemic.
right.
But I needed to, when I was leaving, it's like, well, I didn't know where I was going to go, but then New York was the place where I couldn't go back to. So I was like, well, I got to go somewhere. So I decided to go to be with my parents. And I wanted to come home to a home that was going to open arms, home cooked meal, hugs, you're okay. And that wasn't the situation.
Yeah.
But I had done my work, and I had started to heal. And then it became very apparent to me. Then I remember having this shift, like being back into the lion's den,
Yeah.
where their habits hadn't changed, their patterns hadn't changed. And now I was observing and seeing them. And then I just had that moment where I was like, oh, it wasn't me. it's their habits, it's their patterns, it's all about what they're dealing with, and they hadn't addressed it yet. And all the hate and anger that's going on is what they are dealing, they haven't acknowledged within themselves.
Right.
And so that was actually my biggest healing moment, is being forced back to be with them
Yeah.
and to live in the same environment that caused the damage. But then it was like, now I could see it and be able to let it go.
Yes. It's so interesting hearing you say this because it reminds me of when I try to explain the experience of this work for a lot of us, and definitely what I experienced too. I was in a place that was very painful, but then the introduction to this, it was like this awe of, similarly now I'm experiencing, feeling good and things are interesting to me. What I was studying was interesting to me. What I was practicing was interesting. And that also, in a way, is initially like a different angle of numbing the pain, so to speak. Like it kind of covers it up at first until you then hit that shadow point of like, ew, this is what the healing is really about. So now I have to come face to face what was lying underneath all this time. And I think that's such a fascinating part of this work because a lot of people will go from this high to this kind of low and like, oh no, did I mess something up? But I was like, no, now this is the portal into the healing. So how was that for you? I mean, being there but witnessing it different and just being in a different space in your life.
Well, it wasn't all rosy,
Yeah.
first of all.
Right.
Yeah, because like you said, you have to go into the shadow. You
Right.
have to go into the dark and first admit that it actually happened.
Yes.
And then I had to go through the stages. I had to go through, I'm really hurt, I'm really angry, I want nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
All the just it and it was the pandemic, which is great
Mhm.
because there was nothing really, it was forcing me to be still.
Yes.
And I had so many resources online to be able to turn to. But I was grateful that I had the background that I had to be able to go back to my lessons. Thank you, Zoom, for becoming a phenomenon during the
Right.
pandemic, because I could still reach out to the teachers who helped me and return to them and be able to and take these practices that helped me and reapply them. But
Yeah.
I don't know if I would have been able to navigate through it so gracefully if I hadn't had that background.
Yeah.
So there was
Oh,
a lot of gratitude.
no, 100%. And it's coming to mind too, even this, I think is a big unraveling for a lot of us, regardless if it's our parents or romantic relationships, friendship, it could be any type of connections in our lives where we hold on to this, ideal of who we want people to be, especially with the titles and the roles that they have. Naturally, we have this idealized version of what that's supposed to mean and that seems to be a big pain point for so many of us in realizing, well, they're really just humans also dealing with this human experience, as much as we think we should all fit the perfect version of whatever these titles may be. So even that's very fascinating to me. But you talking about the now having this background and knowing that there are resources of I'm sitting in the truth of what has been, at the pit of my wounding, but at the same time I have access to how to work through this in a healthy way and in a clarified way. So, could we get to what started to illuminate for you to really have this clarity around self love being the key, rather than again idealizing maybe other people filling that up for us?
To think about that one. That's good. I think it was that moment when I really wanted external help
Yeah.
and I wasn't going to get it. And um and I knew how good it felt to feel good.
Yeah.
Another friend of mine, she says she protects her wellness like her life depends on it,
Hmm.
because her life does.
Yeah.
And I I felt like that was what was going on during that time. It's like I don't want to go back into these old patterns. I don't want to go back into these old habits. It was knowing how life can feel when it's within, when you create that peace, when you create that stability within yourself.
Yeah.
You want to own it. And I think that was the drive behind it. And also I was able to learn compassion at that time. That was a huge, our difficult times are also the most opportunity for us to learn.
Right.
And that moment in that chapter in my life, I learned compassion for my parents, because they don't have happiness.
Hmm.
They still are struggling.
Yeah.
And they're at an age now where that pattern is so ingrained, they're probably not going to change. They are not able to, you know, take care of themselves and live a joyful life. And
Hmm.
if they can't take care of themselves and live a joyful life, then there's no way they're going to be able to take care of somebody else with that same love and care.
Right.
And so to be able to look at them and say, I feel for them. They're not going to have the same quality of life that they could have if they take a moment to have that inward conversation and truth. So it created a lot of compassion. And that also creates a lot of gratitude. Like
Yes.
how awesome it is to be able to hold compassion. And when you hold compassion for yourself and for those around you. And
Yeah.
that's that's a gift. It's
Yeah.
such a gift.
Yeah. Carrie, you bring up, it makes me think of how a lot of times we'll hear the saying, when we forgive, it's not for them, it's for ourselves. But I think that translation can often be really hard for people to wrap their brains around when they're so deeply into their hurt. And but the compassion piece, I think it's more so that. I mean, I don't know, maybe you forgive, I don't know, but definitely, and I understand because I've done the same with people in my life. When you can again see people outside of what we would wish them to be, but rather see them in their humanness and have this compassion for whatever their personal struggles may be, whether we fully understand it or not, that's really where that softening happens. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that is such a like an interesting, we'll say, like, portal into this other layer of love that maybe we hadn't understood until that point. So I know that you have dedicated a lot of your work now into this, like the power of self love and how ritual can also play a part. So as you were going through all of this and having compassion for them, what did you recognize as, like, did you start to notice where you may not have been acting in love toward yourself? Were there conscious choices that you were making specifically to be more loving to yourself? What started to happen?
Well, I started to break away from the patterns that they
Mm,
passed on to me.
yes.
And I became very aware of my thought process. And and it was funny because I could see my mom behave a certain way. And I was like, oh, that's where I get it. Oh, I can react this way because my mother does that. Oh, I see now. My dad does that. That's where I got it. So it was
Yeah.
actually quite fun to have that observation of realizing my behavior that I had caught on, that I didn't realize I had, was something that had been taught to me
Yep.
and no longer was in alignment with, or never was really in alignment with who I wanted to be. And to be able to, it's still a process. I still have those
Yes.
habits every now and then, but to create these new habits for myself, to be able to create my own path and to be able to walk the life that I want to walk, holding my head high, being, proud and happy of the choices that I've made.
Yeah. It's interesting too, you say that because I think that's a great reminder for all of us that it is a process. I mean, it would be nice if we could just have these realizations and just the recognition alone just like clears everything up and we're like, oh, that was okay, got that done. But yeah, I mean, we think of how long those programs and patterns and habits had been so ingrained and became so true in our way of seeing, our understanding, not just life, but even ourselves. Of course, it's going to take some practice to kind of reprogram, so to speak, or make something else become more of our norm. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, what is it about self love that you now hope for many of us to understand? And what differences have you noticed that it's made on you and whomever you share this information with? Because, a lot of times, again, we're like, I want it from out there. So, what's the power really of loving ourselves more fully?
Well, first it's about the relationship that you have with yourself.
Yeah.
And a lot of people sometimes, I shouldn't say a lot of people, but sometimes the term self-love is perceived as spoiling yourself,
Mm,
like, oh, I want to go to the spa or I want to eat this treat or something like
yeah.
that. And that could be self-love, but it's more about tapping in. You could, whatever you want to say, are you tapping with your mind, your heart, or your inner child, and knowing what you really need and really taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
And it means, I think, because I specialize in mindfulness and ecotherapy, I think the best self love that you can do is get yourself out of fight and flight mode.
Yeah.
There's so much sensations around us. There's so much overwhelming us. We get our heart rate up. We get short of breath, and we're all learning how detrimental stress is onto our physical body, but also our mental state. And that is, to me, what self love is about: nurturing your whole being, your mind, and your body so that you are calm, clear, and confident.
Yeah.
Because when you're in that state, then you make then you can really make good decisions. And then you can really, your actions are in your best interest and you're taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
And I think so. Right now, if you look around, there's a lot of intensity taking
Yeah.
place globally. And if everyone, my dream, everyone was just pause and take a breath and get themselves out of fight or flight mode. Because when you're in fight or flight, you're reacting. You're just an autopilot, and then you're angry and you're feisty and you're not making good decisions.
Mhm.
You're calm, you can make good decisions for everyone that you're engaging with, that your friends, your family, your community. So if we all could just, my vision of the world is everyone to just take care of themselves, love themselves, get yourself in a more beautiful space so you can treat yourself and those around you with so much love and respect. It
Yeah.
would be such a beautiful world.
Oh my gosh. I think about that all the time. Like, is it possible that we could just wake up and then everyone would just be nice? Like that would be if something could happen and we just all wake up just nice. But to get us there, I'm curious about that same way that you started to see your parents and whatever started to happen to bring you into this state of having compassion for them. How important was that for you to then recognize and start having the same compassion for yourself? Because like a lot of times we'll start to become aware of what our wounds are, but some of us may slip into the now I'm judging myself, I'm criticizing myself. Oh my God, how could I have been so stupid? Why didn't I? Blah blah blah. How important was that piece of the reflection while simultaneously being open to have compassion for you and perhaps whatever decisions you had made in the past?
Compassion is not a one-way street.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite lessons that when I was studying with Rusty, he said, if you want more love in your life, be loving to people. If you feel you need more support, be supportive. If you want more compassion, be compassionate.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you hold compassion for yourself, then you're able to hold compassion for others. It becomes part of you. It's not just you. If you're holding compassion for others, you learn to be compassionate. So you're going to be compassionate to yourself. You become a compassionate person.
Yeah.
So you can focus on being compassionate to others, and you will find yourself being more compassionate towards yourself.
Yeah.
Or you say, I need to be kinder to myself, and then you find yourself being kinder to others. It's a being. It's not just a one-way street.
Yeah. You just made me think of how it's such a powerful way of seeing differently. It really has a huge impact on our perspective because again, starting to view your parents from a different lens and seeing yourself from a different lens. I always am amazed by how it comes back a lot of times, just to the way that we see and understand everything, in terms of our relationship to everything and how powerful compassion is to shifting our perspective and then again domino effect of
Mm-hmm.
changing our story and changing our just everything. So I wanted to ask you about this part, Carrie, the power of ritual. Could you first share, because I think even when we hear the word ritual we all have ideas of what that may mean, because of different exposure and life experiences. What does ritual even mean to you? And how has it served you in the work that you do?
So everyone does have a sliding definition of
Yeah.
ritual. But for me, it is your act with intention.
Mm.
So the difference between a morning routine versus a morning ritual. A routine could be you just get up and you have a checklist and you just go bing, bing, go to the gym,
Yeah.
have your tea, whatever. But you're just doing them on autopilot.
Right.
And a ritual is my intention. Why am I doing this? And that gives you the purpose. And then that purpose fuels your fire to keep wanting to do it because you have a relationship with the act. It has a purpose, it has an intention. And I feel that that's why I always call it a ritual because it helps you stay on your path.
Mm-hmm.
Because it gives you that purpose behind it.
Yeah. So I really love that because yeah, there are so many things that just become habitual that almost I guess would seem ritualistic, but with that key component of the mindfulness, that does make a huge difference because a lot of the things that we do at routinely, yeah, it is. I mean, we do it mindlessly. That's why a lot of us can drive from like work to home and not even realize what we saw in between because it's just so habitual and that lack of presence. So could you talk a little bit about that component of presence and then what kind of ritual have you found that has supported you in the work that you do?
So being present is what helps us be at peace.
Mm.
And it's been said before, but I love it. And you can't go in the past and change things. It's
Yeah.
done. And when you put your thoughts into the past, you allow yourself to bring on sadness or guilt, and which are if not that's not going to serve you.
Mhm.
If you get your thoughts too far in the future, you fill yourself up with fear and anxiety because we have no control. We don't even know what's going to happen in the next minute.
Right.
So so I'm not saying you can't think about the future, but if you get your so caught up in what if, you're just going to fill yourself up with negative energy. So being in the present moment, that's where life really takes place. And
Yeah.
that gives you clarity, that gives you calmness. And there was two parts to that question. I forget. I'm
Yeah.
so
Oh, no, it's
sorry.
okay. No, the presence part, thank you for clarifying about that. But the other part is then what type of rituals have supported you in this journey of self-love and what it is that you do now?
So I like to say that the ritual, it's about what you need each day. So we're always changing our environment, our even the way our bodies, our mindset. So it's not going to necessarily be the same every day.
Yeah.
I do have a few things that I do that I encourage everyone to do
Yeah.
first thing in the morning, and then after the I call them mindful moments, your waking moments, and then after you do a certain thing, these moments I'll share with you. Then it's taking the time to just sit and pause. And it's like, what do I need?
Mm.
And then taking care. Do I need a little more peace today? Do I need to feel stronger? Do I need a little more joy? And then finding a practice that can help you. But the what I encourage people to do first thing in the morning is when whatever, your alarm or whatever goes off or the lights come on, the sun comes in the room and you wake up, is to just take a big breath of air. Inhale deeply and fully exhale. Just life, bring you. You've been sleeping, you've been still. Life, breath is life. So you take a big breath, you fill yourself up with life, and you just exhale. You release any tension if you had any,
Yeah.
and then give yourself a moment of gratitude. Just think of anything. I am so grateful I woke up today. I am so grateful I have a bed to sleep in, whatever. Just fill yourself up with gratitude. Let that be your first thought, your first intent. Let it be something that fills you up first thing in the morning. I also encourage people to have a glass of water first thing. That's so nurturing of our bodies. It gets us prepped to receive nutrients. It cleanses our system. It hydrates us. Another thing that I encourage people to do is to get up after you get up, is to go to the mirror, look yourself in the eye, and give yourself some love. You can say, I love you, or you're amazing, or this is going to be a great day. But those little simple acts, those are the very first actions. That's the very first energy that you're putting out there to the rest of the world, to yourself. That's what you're creating to help that ripple out for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
And then after, so one of the number one questions I get is, what is my ritual? So those are my waking moments. Uh, I'm very fortunate these days that I am living close to the outdoors. So, and I have a big fluffy dog. So after I get up in the morning and do my waking moments, put my clothes on, and he and I head out to the woods. And that's when I really absorb the morning. I listen to the birds and look at the leaves with the sun shining through and the wonderful smells of the nature, and just be as present as possible and have that connection with nature. We are nature. We are from nature. And when you connect with nature, you connect with yourself. And while he and I are on that walk, I'll find a moment to pause and meditate. And he's a great dog because he'll sit right next to me.
Mm.
So I don't have to worry about him running away, and he protects me, and close my eyes. And I try to listen and smell and just be in that present moment as much as possible.
Yeah.
By the time I get back from that walk, I'm so happy. Anything can come my way. And that's okay because I'm in a good state. And I have my love shield on. I'm in a good place. So whatever comes my way, I can be a human and have that initial but then I can go, okay, how am I going to deal with this? And the more you do it, it's the practice. The more you practice, the more it becomes a part of your day-to-day life, the calmer you become. And I've noticed it a lot this last year, how a few years ago, if something would have happened, I would have exploded. I would have fallen apart.
Yeah.
And now the same thing happens. And I'm like, ah, That's life. And I keep on going. I just keep on going. And so then that spinning back around, like, if this feels good, I don't want to stop doing this. I like being at peace.
Yeah.
I'm going to protect this. So I'm
Yes.
going to do what it takes and create those boundaries. If you're not going to be my peace, I'm going to create that space. And
Yeah.
I'm going to keep nurturing myself and take care of myself because this is so good.
It's so funny you say, because that is the thing. When you said your friend protects her wellness or well-being at all cost, I say I protect my peace at all costs, and I really do. And that had to be something that I prioritized, and it does change then the way that we make decisions, and it just brings a different scope to everything. But what's so interesting, Carrie, is I love the question of just having the reflection of what we need. But even you said, and then you find a practice that works for you. And then you gave this whole listing of things that are just accessible to us. I mean, just like taking a deep breath, or giving ourselves this positive outlook for the day of what type of day is going to be ahead, or having those moments of gratitude. So I say that to say it's beautiful that we can really do this work with nothing that's outside of us, that we all have access to what these practices and tools may be. So that brings me to, because you do have a book called Your Morning Ritual, and in reading about your work, I remember there was also a lot of emphasis on like just slow down. Slow
Mm-hmm.
down. So I wanted to ask you a bit about the book, and is it essentially giving us these guideposts with similar to what you just shared?
Yes. So I did write the book during COVID, and
Ah,
during that transitional time. And I actually had taken a Tony Robbins, one of his challenges,
yeah.
the internet ones, and he inspired me to write a book. And I had all that time. So I took all the lessons, my favorite lessons that I had been gathering since my rock bottom moment that
Yeah.
had helped me turn my life around. And so I was able to apply them to the book. Um, and it is a guide that teaches you different mindful practices to taking care of your mind, but also there's taking care of your body. And I like to think that it's something that once you wake up and after you've read the book and you're thinking to yourself, what do I need today? You have a list, a menu of different opportunities of what you can do to take care of yourself. And the book actually does come with a video library toolkit. So there's also videos that you can, meditation video, it's accessible for you, or you want to do a little yoga, it's available for you too.
Wow. Very cool. Okay. And so then from this was born this new course that you have, Step Into Self Love. Could you tell us a bit about that?
Sure. It's the same framework as the book. I've been taking marketing classes, and one person described it as the book is a way I can like hand over the practices and someone can learn to do them on their own.
Mhm.
And that works for some people, but some people need a little more engagement. And so I'm taking the same material and created it in video version. So instead of me handing it over, I'm sitting down talking them through it. And I understand that people have busy lives. And so each little lesson is averages about 5 minutes, some even a little less. So even if you feel like you have a hectic life, but you are saying, I want to bring more of this into my life,
Yeah.
I tried my best to create it so that it's accessible. You could 5 minutes a day learn a lot of these practices, and then they're available for you to refer back to.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
It just occurred to me too, and I'm glad it did, I guess, because I want to make sure this is also very clear. Because a lot of times when people hear about self-love or the practice of, there's often an association with like loss of relationship. Like a lot of people will think like, oh, look at loving yourself more because, you're so heartbroken from the loss of a love, or self-love to help mend from, again, a lot of times there's this kind of correlation that people make, that it's directly tied to, you don't have to depend or rely on a relationship. You can love yourself. And this is the healthy way. Or if you love yourself more, then you will attract that person in your life. But really, from your story, it sounds like, I mean, loving ourselves is the foundation of the entirety of our life expression. And like, yeah, relationship is obviously part of that. But could you talk a little bit about how this has really served like the full spectrum of your life and how you're showing up just as a human every day?
A little bit of what you said, as far as when people, let's say they're going through a breakup and then
Yeah.
they turn to, I want to start taking care of myself.
Yeah.
I actually believe in that quite a bit,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, there's only, let's say with relationship, there's only two ways they're going to go. They're either going to work out or they're not.
Right.
And that can be an intimate relationship, a friendship, a work, whatever. And if it's not going to work out, that's okay.
Yeah.
But we haven't been taught how to deal when things don't work out. We've been taught to fall apart.
Right.
And we don't need to fall apart when a relationship doesn't work. We can be calm about it and at peace and say, this relationship came to an end. It wasn't meant to be, and we can let it go.
Yes.
So self-love is not losing yourself in that breakup, and losing your well-being because it just wasn't meant to be.
Right. And so like and that's the thing, because I think a lot of people will only associate the term with relationship ending being the catalyst. But again, I just want to make sure it's very clear that this isn't just for that. It's not just because of the loss of a relationship. While that can be a component, and that often is a catalyst for a lot of us falling apart, but it
I
really
see what you're
is,
saying.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Like the full
yeah,
spectrum of how this really serves us as like, a whole life experience.
yeah. And actually, and I thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, being at peace does not mean you're not going to have any struggles.
Right.
Reality is life is going to give you up and downs every day.
Yes.
Being at peace is knowing how to meet those challenges and manage them in the best way possible. So, and that's where self-love is the catalyst of
Yeah.
that, because you are in a loving state with yourself. You are able to deal with what comes your way. So
Yeah.
even if you are in a if you're in a loving, nurturing relationship, you're still going to deal with the ups and downs that life is going to give you. So jump in anytime. Like,
Yes, yes.
join the self-love train. Come on,
Yeah.
it's, yeah, to live a more peaceful life. And the people that you are then in that relationship, they'll benefit from it,
Oh,
because they're
yes.
gonna they're gonna get the best you, and that's
Right.
gonna enhance their lives as well.
Yeah, I mean, it circles back to, even some of what you shared with your parents, because a lot of us are functioning from our wounds and our hurt. And of course, that's going to, be what feeds into the nature of all of the relationships that we have. And so, just like you say, on the other side of the fence, the more we heal, the more love we can like hold and express. And going back to the compassion, forgiveness, I mean, it's just such a beautiful, I guess, alternate path for us that a lot of us may not realize. But thank goodness, like for people like you, something happens that shifts and sends you then down that path, going back to those domino effects. And you never know how one choice is going to change everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I want to say, Carrie, I know that you do offer coaching for people because, we often need help with this kind of work. And you also facilitate retreats. So could you talk a little bit about like those different ways that people can work with you as well?
Sure. If you wanted one-on-one coaching, I actually do offer up a free consultation, so we can sit and talk and see if we're the right fit for each other.
Yeah.
So if you're interested, someone can just go to the website and we can sit down and talk. There's no obligation. I think that's really important
Yeah.
to make sure. The retreats, I put them off this year just because I've been traveling around the States. But what I do is I take people deep into the wild, into nature. I have one in Wyoming and one in South Africa. And we are completely away from the chaos of the world and we're surrounded by beauty. And we get to practice a lot of mindfulness, a lot of ecotherapy. And it's about, since we're away from all that sensation, it makes it so much easier to put ourselves into a calming space.
Yeah.
And then I'm teaching certain things that, yes, during that week, you'll feel wonderful, but I'm also giving you practices that you can take home with you and continue with that. But I love to use nature as a way to help us tap into our senses. And that helps us then tap into the now. And that gives us that peacefulness.
Yeah. No, it's really beautiful. And I saw on your site as well, you have um, different offerings to help us even understand with more clarity how these types of adventures could support us. So you have resources for people who are curious whether they retreat with you or want to just go take themselves out in nature. You have a lot of different resources available on the website as well. That I have to say, Carrie, I'm really thankful again that we had this conversation and putting some emphasis on self love because I think we need it right now. Like
Yeah.
we need it. But then also how that then expresses out is having more love and compassion for each other. So thank you so much for the work that you're doing and for coming to share with us today.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I want to say just one more little thing, if
Yes.
that's okay.
Yeah.
A lot of people are, I know that I've talked to people who said, oh, I'm looking for purpose in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I do believe that self love is a solution to, excuse me, a lot of our problems. Because when you become a loving person, a loving, calm, peaceful person, yourself within,
Yeah.
that's who you bring to the world. You're bringing one more loving, peaceful person. And then you become a model, a role model to show people and inspire people to be the same. So if someone's looking for some purpose, let your purpose be taking care of yourself so that you can bring a better person into this world and make
Yeah.
a difference in this world this way.
Beautiful. Thank you. I'm
Mhm.
so glad you ended on that note. That's a beautiful offering. Thank you so much. And for everyone, again, if you want to connect with Carrie, definitely check out her work. You can go to her website, carrieasby.com. I'll have the links down in the show description, including to her book, Your Morning Ritual, and her new online course, Step into Self Love. So thank you again, and we will see all of you very soon.
Thank you very much.
Okay, beautiful alchemist. I want to first thank Carrie again for coming on Reiki Radio and sharing her story. If you would like to work with Carrie or learn more about her work, don't forget that you can go to her website, carrieasby.com. She also has an Instagram at Carrie Asby. The links to connect with her are down in the show description. She also has a book called Your Morning Ritual, and her new online course is called Step into Self Love. So I hope that you had some nuggets of inspiration within this conversation. This is why I love, love, love doing the podcast and meeting people from all different backgrounds and practices and points of view. We learn so much from each other. And if you want to join me for Intuitive Mastery, don't forget the class starts in November. If you are already registered, you already have access. If you've never taken Intuitive Mastery before, you can register and join us on November 5th. Or if you want to spend all of 2026 with me, to have guided mentoring and be really diligent in your practice, going deeper into your energetic alchemy, then you can register for the Alchemy Circle 2026, which will also give you free access to the live intuitive mastery. So be sure to sign up right away because there is limited space. So there is that. I am so glad that we had time to exchange with each other again today. And I look forward to seeing you next week. We have an incredible conversation with Kathleen Johnson talking all about an angelic activation. So I'll see you next time. And remember to always journey in love.